I've got 5 of these chassis that I've got to disassemble, take all the copper out, and then replace with some new copper. So I'm just gonna dive on in. And so first thing I'm doing, a lot of you guys work on your cars with a Dremel. I have a Dremel. I don't use it much because I have what's called a flex shaft. It's a motor with a flexible shaft and a foot power. So you can see, and it's adjustable. So if I want to grind a little bit, I just hit the foot a little. If I want to grind a lot, I do it a lot. So I'm going to move the camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 hollow rivets and 1 solid rivet. So I'll do the solid rivet first. And what I'm using is, this is a Ball Bur. It's a 3mm Ball Bur. And what I'm going to do is, instead of drilling out from the inside, I like to grind away the head of the rivet so that it doesn't affect the chassis. I don't like the burr to actually touch the chassis. So if it does get a little bit too deep, then it just gets into the old copper and it doesn't really matter. So first thing I'm going to do is, hopefully it's not too noisy, and I'll try and keep my fingers out of the way so you can kind of see what I'm doing. There you can see there's the first one out of there. The solid rivet ones are a little bit harder to grind away than the hollow rivets, just because there's more material to take off on the solid ones. You can hear why I like the foot-powered flex shaft versus the Dremel. Dremel has like 2 speeds, fast and really fast. On these, you can kind of see I'm kind of going in real slow. I don't know the RPM, but it's fairly slow. One more to do. There we go. Take a little toothbrush, clean off some of the debris. And you can see on a couple of them I went all the way through, and then there's 2 of them that I didn't go all the way through. I've got this little pin vise with a tool on the end, and what I'll do is I'll just push those old rivets out of there. And that quick, we're down to just a bare chassis. And on this old copper, I always keep the old copper, even if it's bent up and broken. I still kind of keep it. I'll sort through it later, because some of that stuff, the old copper, you can straighten it out, or some of them are still in pretty good shape. You can actually reuse them. So there's one. Now I'm gonna. This is the hollow rivet ones, and on these ones you can just stick the ball bur right in the middle of the rivet, and it doesn't take much to take them off. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday. I was here at my shop, and I'm done for the day. I locked the doors up, but I've got a mold that I'm making, and I'm waiting for it to finish. So I couldn't leave. So I figured, you know what, I might as well hang out and do some fun stuff while I'm waiting for my mold to finish. Hopefully you can all hear me good. Try not to mumble too much. There we go. Just like that, we've got 4 stripped down chassis ready to be put back together and see the track again. Actually 5, sorry. And I have I've been doing these for a couple of years, and a lot of times people will send me donor chassis that maybe the brush holes are all burnt up and stuff, but the copper is still good. So I have a collection of all of these pieces and parts that are still good. So some of them are still good. Some of them are beat up a little bit, but whenever I'm working on something and somebody wants an original Aurora part, I've got those as well. But I've also got some dash copper that I use as well, and it works really good. So that's what I'm going to be doing on these chassis, is putting some repop dash copper into them. Again, I'll put these in my ultrasonic, clean them up really good, and use what I can, and the rest of it will go in the trash. All right. So now for the cool part, putting the rivets back in. And for this, there's a number of tools that I've made myself. Here's the first one, and this is just a 1/8" brass rod, and it's cut down. And if you look at this end, it's got a little bit of a you can see this little divot there, and that little divot is just for the head of the rivet so that it doesn't flatten it. And this is an oak bench. It's about 1.5 inches thick, so it's really solid. I've got a hole drilled right here so that I can insert that into it. Hopefully you can see that. And I'll show you why. Here's some rivets. The place, I've got a bunch of these rivets, but the place that I used to get them from don't have them anymore. So your next question is, where do I get the rivets? I'm not sure, because the place that made them for me ain't making them anymore. So I'm sure there's places out there. So okay, there's my bare chassis. I'm gonna set these up here so hopefully you can kind of see a little bit better. So the first one I'll do is this. This is the long piece of copper. And what I usually do is I'll hold it with my tweezers, and I'm gonna put a little bit of a bend in there. I don't know if you can see how much. There's not much of a bend. It's probably less than 3 degrees. But all that does is it just adds a little bit of spring pressure to the brush. It's easier to take a little bit out than to add it in later, so I always add them in first, and then you can always bend them out and take them a little bit out later. So, and I'll just kind of lay that in there like that. Take a rivet, and these tweezers I've modified them. There's a little bit of a notch. You probably can't see. There's a notch in there, and I use that notch to hold on to the rivet so that it doesn't fly and slip away. Then I'll take that, you can kind of see, take that and drop it right down in there. And then I'll take this and set it upside down on that little pin that I showed you. And then this is a riveting tool, riveting spreader that I've modified a little bit just so that it does what I want it to do when you first buy these. And I don't know the item number. It's a Dasco Pro, but I don't know the item number. So what I'll do is set that on the inside of the rivet, and then take a little hammer. This is called the chasing hammer, and give it a good tap. You can kind of see it spreads that rivet out nicely, makes it below the surface, and it opens it up, and then it folds it over, so that's kind of nice. Now I'm just going to set this little tool in that hole just to line it up so that everything is nice and straight. Next, I will take the shoe hanger, set that in place. It's easier to do when I'm not worried about a camera. So, I don't know if you can see that, but take my rivet, put it in my tweezers, put it through the hole. Here we go. Set that down in there. Again, I'm holding it with my thumb, and then I'm going to set it on there right in place. Set the rivet spreader on there. And then when I do it, I kind of wiggle this around a little bit just so that it gives it a nice appearance. And then the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that this hanger is straight, because sometimes they'll either sit one way or the other. And then I can kind of push it a little bit with my thumb, but it's pretty tight. So here's the first one. Now I'll do the same thing on the second one. Again, the first thing I'll do is take and I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just giving that a little bit of that spring, just a little bit of a bend in there, just so it's got a little bit more pressure. Like I said, it's only a couple of degrees, but it makes a big difference. Put that in there like that. Set that on the piece. There we go. Take this, set it in that hole, straighten it out, and put the shoe hanger in place. There's only one way that these shoe hangers can actually go, so don't feel like you can accidentally put it in upside down or sideways or whatever. If you do, you know right away, because it doesn't look right at all. And again, you can see that one's just a little bit crooked. You could straighten it out with your thumb. And what sometimes I'll do is after I straighten it, set that in there, and there you go. It's just like new. And you can see on the inside those rivets are nice and spread out evenly, and they're actually below the surface where the magnet sits, so it's good. That quick, and it's a little bit quicker when I'm not talking and doing all the video stuff. But you're gonna walk through, bend that, and then these things only go in one way. One side is shorter, one side is longer, and you can't put them in backwards. I suppose you could, but it would not look or go well. I tried this once, I melted the rivet hole, so I stopped. Yeah, and that's why when I drill it out, I go at a slow rate. And also when I'm drilling it, this stuff here is called Bur Life or Bur lubricant. It's just kind of a wax. It helps it to cut without the heat. And again, at a slow rate of speed, when you're working with a Dremel, they've got two speeds, really fast and really, really fast. So I prefer to use a foot-powered flexible shaft machine, and they're kind of spendy. I've got some that I actually sell here, and they're like $180. The one that I have at my jeweler bench, the brand is a Foredom, and they're closer to $350 or so. but they're definitely worth it, especially when you work with them every single day. But there's worse things to spend money on. Again, got that one in there, putting the shoe hanger in place. Put in my trusty little tweezers with the notch in them so that my rivet doesn't go flicking away. Hold it in place. Again, just taking that and making sure that it's straight so that it would sex wax work on on surfboards? You know, any kind of lubricant wax would work. Beeswax. I also sometimes I'll use oil. I've got some wintergreen, oil of wintergreen that sometimes I'll use just because I like the smell. But you can use, a little dish of oil. You can use wax. You can use, get some earwax, stick some earwax in there. Anything that will lubricate it a little bit. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Here's the short one. Again, bending that just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not, how much it's bent, but it's not much. And dropping that in there. Looking good. Take this, stick it in the hole just to straighten it out to make sure that the hole in the spring matches the hole in the chassis. Putting the shoe hanger in there, getting the rivet. There we go. Sorry, I can't, my hands, big old hands are in the way. You can't see exactly what I'm doing, but there we go. Straighten that out just a bit. Hold on. There we go. I make it look real easy just because I'm used to working with small things, and TJets and jewelry work are kind of what I enjoy doing. How do you guys have big old fingers and hands, and you've tried this and it did not go well? But again, like I said, this is something that I do every day of my life as far as working with my hands and these tools, so it comes natural. So if you don't want to do all this tedious work, get a hold of me at TJetClub.com, and if you sweet talk me, I might be able to put some chassis together for you. I don't advertise much anymore just because I am getting so busy with my business that sometimes I don't have a lot of time, and people send me chassis and they'll sit around for a couple of weeks before I can get to them. And I like to turn stuff around pretty quick, so. Luckily right now I'm all caught up on chassis other than these 5 that came in today. And they were local. One of the club members brought them in and said, "Can you help me?" And I said, "You know I can." Another beauty. 2 more. Do you guys like to, on the auctions, do you like cars that are more collectible, or do you like cars that you can race, or cars that you can work on and build, or all of the above? I think I've mentioned before, I am not a collector of TJets. I don't have a collection. All my cars are cars that I race. If I find a car that is a collectible, I get rid of it as quick as I can. Otherwise, I have a tendency of wanting to lower it and take the windshield out and wheel well it and all that stuff. And then the purists lose their mind because I've done that. So if it's a good car in good shape and collectible, I will usually find somebody who is a collector of stuff and get it to them. And I like to trade rather than sell. Sometimes I'll sell them. But I would rather trade for stuff that I can use. Again, you can kind of see just about every tool that I'm using I've modified in some way. Like these tweezers, I modified them so that they hold rivets. Even the rivet spreader, I've modified it so that it leaves the head more how I like it. One more. Last one, go through it. See, if you look at these right away, they're flat when they're brand new. Put a little bit of a tweak into them. And again, this copper that I'm putting in here is dash copper, just because I got a bunch of it. He makes it available from time to time. And when he does, I make sure that I pick some up because I use quite a bit of it. Kind of quiet in here. I usually have music on, but if I go live on Facebook and there's music, they frown on that. I don't know why. Last one. Bit of a bend to it. Stick it in there, flatten it up. And there we go. All done. And just like that, we got 5 chassis that are ready to be assembled and hit the track again. That's what I enjoy doing is seeing some of this stuff that once you got a brush spring that's broken. Usually you've got a box or something that you throw it in. You probably when you were kids you took it and you just threw it away, not knowing that you could replace that stuff. And it's nice that now we got cars that were in the junk pile once and now they are ready to rock and roll. So that's all I got. I just wanted to share that. I've been wanting to do that for a while, and said today I was hanging out at the shop and just looking for an opportunity to to share and hang out. So other than that, the majority of the stuff I got around here is all jewelry related, but I do have some slot car stuff from time to time. Like I got a mold that I've just gotten into resin casting. Usually I have a 3D printer that I print in resin, but now I've dabbled a little bit in making bodies and kind of enjoy it a little bit. So I'm still not real good at it, but I'll get there. I did these Ranchero bodies and they turned out all right, but I'm not happy with the wheelbase, so I'm not going to make those available. Just because if it's something that I'm not completely happy with, I'm not going to put it out there. So I've got a bunch of leftover rejects that actually I'm making available to a few people, but other than that, that's all I got. Get these to their new owner. You can see how good those things are looking. Check that out. Nice. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll pop out in one of these days and do something different. Bye.